So part two of my thoughts on this situation here from a diary agreever named John Weaver, which is me. It's still February the 5th, Thursday, 2026, and it's 9:40 in the morning, and I was talking about Johnson and his insane outlook on what political borders are versus what he calls religious borders. We have no religious borders. I was trying to get into a situation regarding examples that we have. An island nation, like I picked on Australia, for instance. I was trying to figure out the indigenous, who they were called. Shit. Forgive me, guys. I've got to... I was trying to remember something, and it was just taking up too much time. Well, I know they call them indigenous, but they're also called aborigines. Aboriginals. They have their own culture, you know that? It's cool. It's killer. It's them. It's like dealing with the Native Americans out here. We call them Native Americans, or the indigenous. Or they call them the people, or whatever they would consider the tribe names are. Or what their grouping would be called. Regardless, I would call them the indigenous or Native Americans. And they were here first before the European invasion. They were here, already marked up their territories throughout the lands. Even down in Mexico, even what we consider now Mexico. But we had the European conquerors and conquests going on. Screwed things up left and right. And we had border wars happening. But the borders between the Native Americans, who still had their own wars before the European insane nuts came over. Johnson would call it religious. And I'm trying to figure out where the hell did he get this shit from in his teachings in Southern Baptist. Borders are political. They're not religious, unless, of course, we're talking about in the Middle East, who they currently have the political borders, and they also have in their own borders their own religious viewpoints and stuff that we don't push on each other. But I don't get what he calls the United States having religious borders, because it dated back over to the biblical times. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But it's also territorial because of resources and because of ego. I've been studying history. In a community college, I've been studying history, not to mention political science and English literature, or literature period. And I'm still learning more and more about it. I've been 10 years at a damn thing, and I'm 60 right now. But even when I went to school from K to 12, we were talking about borders a little bit, but we didn't talk about religious borders. This was in public education. When I went to Methodist, to be raised as a Methodist, as a kid, Mom took me and my brother over there to church. We didn't talk about borders. We didn't talk about borders being religious. We didn't talk about being political or anything. We talked about lessons. We talked about a bit of history or something here and there from the Old Testament. And then the New Testament, it would have been, the scriptures would have been in the religious services that we would have. But we didn't talk about politics like that. At least not back when I was growing up. From the 70s, 80s, 90s. So I don't get this political crap unless they start calling it Christian nationalism. And this is supposed to be what? Rewording of what the Bible was? Rewording what U.S. history or American history or even world history was? From someone else's viewpoint, what it should be in their own viewpoint. I had to tell them about on that one. History is history. Sometimes we do have different interpretations of what the past was like. If we want to go further than what recorded history was, we would look at the caveman drawings. We would look at the ancient drawings of what tribalism looked like. And we would make our own interpretations on what those pictures would be, the pictographs. We would try to understand that even the basic Cro-Magnon, way back when, had their own tribes. Didn't worry about religion. To them, religion was nothing. Except with the fear in the sky, with the fear on the ground, what fear is. But they're always on survival. They're always constantly fighting for survival. And you are hurting my arm. Sorry, Ma. I gotta switch arms. Mankind fought over resources and head games. That's it. Head games took more precedent than resources. While we saw the guy had more resources, we fought over him for the resources until they were null and void. Guess we either destroyed them in the action or else we wasted them and then have to go for hunting for more and more and more. The more the archaeologists and historians would go back further and further into information about different peoples, about different lands, how they would spread one area to another area, one garden spot to another garden spot until it's been used up and then they moved on, or they expanded upon it or tried to reclaim it, keep it alive, keep it going, keep the civilization growing, but also swallowing up other resources in the process. Trying to declare that they've got borders over here because they want to protect the resources they have for their own people. We get into head games, and we also get into resources. Those are the only two things we get into. Johnson is doing the head game on people concerning about religion. He's trying to tell people that it's righteous, it's just in whose eyes, and what the fuck are you talking about? It's moral. Oh, it is, and it's political, you son of a bitch. And we made it political throughout the millenniums in our landscapes as we kept fighting over resources left and right. We captured each other's armies. We used each other's armies against each other. Put it in a nutshell. If I was going to go after Speaker Johnson in this one, I would be saying, Johnson, shut the fuck up with your Christian nationalist bullshit. If you want to know about history, you should have learned more about history in different colleges. That would include, it might scare the shit out of you, DEI and wokeism, because we actually do have history professors who do research into things like this. We have international professors who would have to re-advise because they saw something new to be added to the historical databases. The more we learned about our past, the more we kept digging up things about past that would either correspond, correlate, match up. That would add something to humanity, wouldn't it? To the human history, to the human drama. And not just political head game we're doing for Christian nationalists. Since when was Christ a nationalist? Since when did Christ cater to the politics of humanity? He didn't kowtow to Caesar, or the empire, or its previous history of Caesars, nor to the future of Caesars out there. The different versions that we keep looking at of the same information, copied over throughout the millenniums in different languages, but hopefully meaning the same thing as we looked at the translations. Where was the Christian nationalist? Did it start after Christ died? Was it before Christ became? Did Christ ever say, build me a nation? No, he didn't. He said, build me a kingdom. We equate kingdom with a nation. But the problem is, his version of kingdom was basically spiritual and mental on this planet, on this mortal plane, here and now. Even in his time, he had to deal with the fear and the trepidation and the terror that the Caesar had bestowed upon the Middle East as they were creeping out with their own empire We had other empires fighting against each other. Does anybody forget history or don't give a shit about it? But they would call it, but it's religious borders. It's not religious borders, it's political borders. Whoever's got the armies, whoever's got the strong arm to protect acreage, and they would equate borders with mountains and rivers because they would be providing the natural barrier for crossovers or difficult, but also mark a distinction of what the territory is like, what it should be. And other people would have other ideas. Johnson's a fucking fool. Speaker Mike Johnson's a fucking fool and idiot. I know it because I'm a fool and an idiot, and I'm also an asshole. But the one thing, I don't denigrate in any way, shape, or form. I don't insult it. And he's an insult to his own religion, his own faith. He's an insult to God and Christ, in my own observation. I'm a Christian. And unfortunately, I judged the bastard, and I'm going to get myself judged worse, which I expect. Which I expect of myself. And even worse. But if I can find any kind of remorse, any kind of thing I can forgive the bastard on. I would hope and pray he would actually understand the light of Jesus. Not in his own stupid way. Not through Trump. Or his own political dumbass thinking. There would have to be a moment in his period of life where either he had experienced it or he will experience it. Maybe a little too late for him to understand. Or for him to seek forgiveness. As a Christian, as a follower of Christ, I think there's a distinction between Christian and a follower of Christ. I'm not a cleric. I'm not religiously trained. I'm not educated in the religious schools that we have out there of their own thought and thinking. I have my own. Christ was not trying to set up a faith-based religion at all. He didn't say it. He didn't want it. All he wanted to do was preach God's word. All he wanted to do was help people. All he wanted to show was God's goodness. And kept coming up with ignorance left and right. And he had to go head-to-head with some of the elders. Or with a lot of the elders anyway at the time. But the thing is, what I never saw or never read or heard about is Christ going after Caesar directly. And bad-mouthing him, blaspheming, and going crazy on him. He was focused more on the people who are suffering because of that crap. And what their behaviors were learned a long time ago in dealing with back then compared to their life right now. As a mortal, he was taught their version of what history was like. And maybe he also had his own internal compass of how it should be and how he kept reinterpreting. Which had pissed off a lot of elders. That's why they didn't like him very much, because he was doing stuff that they didn't approve of and scared. They were fearful of God. I kept thinking God was in mortal form and judging people left and right. Maybe he was a person who was trying to personify what God should be on earth. Not with just power and absolute glory, but with a helping hand, with a helping heart, with empathy, with humanity, with kindness, with charity, with love. Something of which was barren. And he was going in to be a gardener. Christ was a stone cutter, or furniture maker. A carpenter. A carpenter builds with material, with imagination, with hands. Hello, military. What's going on? Christ was doing this. He was trying to show people what kind of a world they could be building with the tools out of his, with the tools with him. It's not just the physical tools, it's the tools that he used. His mind, his heart, the words, actions. This was Christ. He was trying to build the basis, the foundation of a kingdom. He saw the crumblings, now he's trying to do the masonry. Doesn't anybody understand this kind of crap? The ones that keep following Christian nationalists? Christ didn't want nation under him. He wanted a nation under God. But we kept misconstruing Christ as God. Because he's the Son of God, therefore he's God. I'm like, no. It was part of God sent down here. We are all part of God. In one form or another, if we understood it, this is what and who we are. And it is up to us to decide whether or not we're going to be part of that thing or not. And if we are, we learn, we know, we feel, we understand. We're one with it. But forcing our hand down people's throats, telling that this area is religious. This is my religious border. You cannot come into it without everything proper. It was bad enough when I started reading some of the stories a long time ago about invasions in the Old Testament. Even after when Moses died, he saw the promised land, but the problem is somebody else had to do the dirty job of going over there and moving in. I remember part of that story. I had a church actually I had a Bible LP. Had Bible stories on it. A long time ago. And I listened. Didn't understand. I listened. Now I'm trying to recall it in my head. If I can find some of it online, I'll look at it on YouTube, see if I can find anything. But I don't get Johnson and his bullshit that he's trying to convince people about. He's trying to convince about this way and this way and this way and this way. This is right. This is justice. This is just. Under who? Under whose interpretation is just? His? And that makes him a moral, righteous man because he kept claiming that he is a moral, righteous man. Yet the shit he's allowing at this point over here doesn't prove that. If we're going to be following Christ's judgment upon us, are we goats or are we sheeps? And if we're sheeps, we're not aware of what we're doing. But if we think we're doing it okay, if we're doing it because we have an instinct for it, fine. If we're not harming anybody, maybe we're doing it right. But if we are causing harm in any way, shape, or form, why? That's the thing I would ask. And for whose glory is it? Under whose glory and under whose spotlight are we looking for? Or trying to do it under? Am I doing all these videos for my own ego? I could probably say probably. Then I would have the question coming down. Why? Because I have a major defect that probably wants all that damn negative attention at this point over here or any other kind of attention that makes me feel like I'm better and superior than anybody else. This is a full and idiot explanation of it. This is not following Christ. It's following my own damn ego who wants everything. I would have God's eyebrow looking at me like, want to run that by me again? Are you doing it for my son? Are you doing it for me? Are you doing it for your own self? And if by account, well, hop on. Explain to me, Lucy. We got some explaining to do. I'd have to look at myself and see whether or not if I'm actually doing it for anybody else's glory other than my own. But am I doing it for glory? Am I doing it for ego or someone else's ego? Or am I doing it because I feel it's necessary to say these things and do these things and become one of these things? Because if not, then I don't know what the fuck I'm doing these days anymore. Part 3 coming up.